That was tonight from the original cast recording of West Side Story. It's the music group choice of Cheltenham Ladies College principal Vicky Tuck. OK, Julian Baggini, time for your music choice. What have you chosen for us?
It's a song called Good Morning World by the Senators.
OK, let's hear it.
Lundy, business, RC, Shannon.
Went to sleep about 6 months ago, and tonight it woke up with my body in tow. And I'm wandering around, wishing it would just stop. But my poor head thinks if it goes back to sleep, it might never wake up. And this time of the morning is ugly and blank, with a throat full of sawdust and eyes full of sand, and my lips stuck together, breath bitter and black, with the certainty that I can never go back, and my arms stiff and aching, skin covered with grease, as each thought begins to increase and increase, and the birds all start singing one after one, and I'd shoot the little bastards if I had a gun. Just woken up and I'm singing Good Morning World.
That was Good Morning World by the Senators, the brothers Jim and Mick Kitson, not to be confused with the 60s combo The Senators, who had a hit with She's a Mod and featured a young John Bonham, or Tom Jones's backing band, The Senators. This came out in 1990 and is the music group choice of philosopher Julian Baggini. Were you trying to win over the crowd there with a song that starts with a shipping forecast, Julian?
Do you know, that's not the thing I most remember about the song, I have to say.
So why did you choose it? Were you deliberately being obtuse to choose something that nobody would ever have heard of?
No, I chose this because when I was an undergraduate student at Reading, I did some work experience and I did some record reviewing for the Reading Evening Post. And I was a very, very bad record reviewer, and my writing at the time was terrible. Some would say it hasn't improved since. But I used to go every week and collect this bunch of B-list records, basically, the stuff that the national music press probably wouldn't cover, but, you know, was being put out by proper labels. And of all those records, I kept only two. I liked them both, and they were both bands that never quite made it, and so, you know, other people didn't know about them. But the thing was, many years later, I thought, what happened to these people? And what is it like, because they were signed on to major record labels and put out, to get that close to big success but never quite make it? So I actually tracked them down and went looking for Jim and Mick Kitson and found out what happened to them.
And were they bitter and twisted and covered in baling twine, living in a cardboard box somewhere?
Well, this was great. They weren't at all. And what was really heartening to me about this story was that none of these people were bitter and twisted. Yes, they would have liked the success. I'm not going to pretend they wouldn't have liked that big breakthrough. But for them and for all of them, the point was what they really loved was making the music and the creativity. And that was what really mattered, not having the huge breakthrough.
And when your fantastic article came out, did it then give them another surge of publicity?
Well, that's the thing, you see. The article itself embodied the moral of the story, because I went travelling all over the place with this and researching the story, and the article never came out. When I submitted it to the nameless newspaper weekend magazine supplement, they said, oh, we were expecting something on the nature of fame and celebrity, this isn't it. And it never got used. But the point is, for me, that is probably still the most interesting and rewarding assignment I've ever done as a writer. And yet, you know, success, zero.
Ironically, I met the Senators when I was a medical student. I was in a double act called Frozen Cheesecake with a chap called Shubi Banerjee, who's now a professor of psychiatry and wrote the dementia care strategy for the NHS. And Shubi's good friend, Shubi and Jeannie had a good friend, was Mick Kitson, who's one of the brothers. And we knew them just as they were taking off. They played in a pub in North London, and one night Virgin came in and said, we'll sign you. And they said the signing was just like that. The hard bit was actually getting a hit record. In fact, their first album, I think, is even better, and it's got some really good songs on it, but there was never one that really, really took off.
It's not my favourite song of theirs, actually. The reason I chose it was that this actually shows how close they came, because Simon Bates, the Radio 1 DJ, who at the time, this was 1990, society, you know, this was a huge thing, had said the day before, I've heard this great new song by the Senators, Good Morning World, I'm going to play it. And so they were on the verge of this major breakthrough. But what happened was, on the day, Simon Bates was doing his R tune. Now, people of a certain age will remember this.
Yeah.
Simon Bates would have a little story of how some couple had been through pain and heartache and come through it. It's a very bad Simon Bates impression. I can't believe I even tried to do it.
He's quite litigious, actually.
Yes.
Moving on.
Moving on. So I'm changing the story slightly now. But in the middle of this, what happened was someone pressed the wrong button in the studio. And what happened was they went through to the Radio 1 Roadshow, which was something went on in Seaside. And so when they finally realised, Simon Bates had to go back and start our tune again. As a result, he lost whatever it was, 10, 20 minutes from the programme, and the song never got played. Now, if you can have that happen to you and still, 15 years later, say, well, that's life. I really take my hat off to Jim and Mick. I think they're lovely guys. It's great to meet them.
They had a great time. I remember they flew to America with Virgin and on a luxury flight, on the maiden flight. They had a wonderful time. And I think Mick had too much to drink and almost got in a fight with Mike Yarwood, I seem to remember. So they did have some of the trappings of celebrity. Mark, if you were representing them, how important is, A, the name, because they used to be known as Brothers in Rhythm, which I think is a much better name, and how important is that first major play on Radio 1 in terms of launching a band?
Well, the brands have taken off, and I think you spot it now with the surge of interest in things like the reality shows like X Factor, is your captivating narrative, what really gets the word of mouth connected to your idea. And it's an unforgiving business, the music business, but you do have to play the game. If you think of somebody with zero talent, I would argue, Lady Gaga, I mean, she just continues to generate those column inches and set what I think some pretty bad examples. But who would have thought that you get a publicity moment out of wearing meat? Awful idea.
So that's what... Oh, yeah, that's it. Did you hear enough from that record to think that these guys actually had talent and you could have...
I couldn't judge. I struggled with it. I wanted to like it, but, I mean, that opening bars kept reminding me of the Peter Star.
It is Where Do You Go to My Lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it just...
like Marlene Dietrich.
I couldn't get it out of my head, and I suspect they were a pretty good live band. You can actually detect that there is some energy and some passion there.
I think you'll all be a bit hard on this song.
Did you like
it?
Will you be playing it again?
Well, I thought, it has some great lyrics. I just walked past my mirror. I look like a slug. Right. So I walk round the kitchen and smash all the mugs. I mean, this is high quality stuff.
Do you have those dark moments yourself?
I do, and I think that this is a rather good song about alienation, and yet it's very cheerful.
I think probably we should encourage X Factor. All the acts should do a Senator's tribute one night. They should sing tribute songs to bands that never made it, and then they'd actually get that double publicity. It'd be quite a nice idea. That just about wraps it up. We'll play out with a bit more of the Senator's Good Morning World. But first, I'd like to thank my guests for attending the music group, Julian Baggini, Vicky Tuck, Mark Borkowski, and our wonderful audience at the Times Cheltenham Literary Festival. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Here's some more Senators with Good Morning World. Hey, girl. Thank you.
The music group from Cheltenham was presented by Phil Hammond, produced by Tamsin Hughes, and is a testbed production for BBC Radio 4.